This episode is powered by Outpost Roasters, small batch, high quality coffee with soul. Outpost Roasters in Johnson City specializes in freshly roasted, small batch, ethically sourced, fair trade local coffee. That's what sets them apart from the big guys. They work directly with small farms and co-ops to ensure responsible practices and rich, balanced flavor in every single cup. Whether it's early mornings or late nights, their 12-ounce bags deliver bold, smooth coffee at a totally fair price. Head to outpostroastersjc.com to explore their blends and single origins. Outpost Roasters, coffee that's definitely worth waking up for. Hey, Lance.
Hey, what's going on?
Would you mind giving a little introduction of your name, what you do, where you're from?
Yeah.
Go for it. Dive right in.
We'll start with, I am Lance Hanbey. What I do, I like to wear a few different hats. My current full-time position is the lead minister at Unicoi Christian Church. Got the sweatshirt on.
Representing.
Yep. I've been there 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So working on year number 8 currently, and I started there part-time doing youth ministry, and the guy who was preaching full-time about a year in kind of looked at me and was like, "Hey, have you ever thought about preaching?" And I said, "Not really." And he said, "Well, think about it, pray about it." So we had kind of a transition, and so I have been preaching full-time there 4 years, maybe almost 5 years now.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's kind of wild. So that's what I do full-time for a job. I am a Navy chaplain in the Navy Reserves as well.
That's kind of new, right?
Relatively. I was in the chaplain candidate program. I commissioned in the candidate program back in 2020. So I've been kind of dipping my toes in the water for a little while. And then just over the last month, superseded to be an actual chaplain in the reserves. And so, yeah, I could share a little bit more about that and kind of what that entails. Get to do that a little bit on the side here and there and get to travel some. And then what else? I'm married. My wife's name is Shelby. We've been married about 2.5 years now. I am a volunteer firefighter, so I get to do that, volunteer chaplain. So I just...
all the things.
Yeah. Shelby would say, "You do too much." And I would say, yeah. I have trouble saying no to things at times, but I'm working on that. So.
Being able to say no is really powerful. So wait, are you telling me that you should have said no to this podcast?
Maybe. I got another podcast invitation that I'm also doing within the month. So,
wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Popular.
Well,
Lance.
I like, part of it is probably I talk too much, and that's, yeah.
It's all right. It's all good.
I do have trouble saying no to things. And part of that, it's not, I don't know. I like doing things.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about life, so I like to jump in. Yeah, the firefighter story is kind of funny.
Okay.
That was I don't know if I would call it Shelby and I's first fight, but it was kind of like we had just gotten married, and so I'm for the last decade had been a single guy as a bachelor, and I am at home one night, she's at work, and I had the Irwin Record, which is the newspaper for Unicoi County, Tennessee. That's where I live, in Unicoi.
Yep.
And I'm probably the only person under 55 that I know that reads a paper newspaper anymore. But I get the paper newspaper. Shelby tells me I'm an old man, so it's like 8 p.m. I have my newspaper. I'm in like my bathrobe with my slippers, and they had an article about the local fire department. And I was like, "Oh man, this is great!" So I'm reading about it, and it was like 75% of firefighters in the United States are on a volunteer basis. And I was like, that's crazy. I never knew that. And then they were talking about kind of the decline in volunteerism. And they said, you know, our volunteer fire departments, a lot of them are aging out and we need volunteers. And Unicoi is an all-volunteer department. And so if you're a young, strapping person that has some extra time that could volunteer, you know, come on out and volunteer.
Come on down.
I thought, oh, I'm a young person that could volunteer. So I hopped online and went to their website, found the application, and filled out the application. And as I'm hitting the send button, I thought, oh, this is something that I should probably ask my wife about, because we had just gotten married a few months prior. So
wait, did you hit the send button and then have that moment?
I did. It was after the send button. And then
send.
she got home from work that night, and I was like, listen, babe, I need to apologize to you. I did a thing, and she was like, what? I was like, well, I kind of submitted an application to volunteer with the local fire department.
Yeah.
So we negotiated it.
Okay.
At the time, I was volunteering also at Johnson City Medical Center as a chaplain. So once a month, I'd do an on-call overnight there, spend the night at the hospital. So we kind of negotiated, and I said, well, why don't I step down from some of the volunteer work at the hospital and kind of shift that over to firefighting? So she was like, all right, we'll let that slide.
Okay. So then how soon after that? Like, did they call you like the next day and they're like, dude, yes, come down? Do you have to go through like an in-person interview?
Yeah. They, we kind of went back and forth, and I kind of went over there and met some of the folks, and then they scheduled an in-person interview, did that. They do a background check and all that stuff too. So
makes sense. I feel like everything you get a background check for these days, which is totally fine. I mean, they have to know who they're
always
dealing with.
Yep.
So, all right. And what year was that, you said?
That was not that long ago. That was, well, I guess almost 2 years ago now.
Okay.
It was just a little, I don't know, 6 months after Shelby and I got married. So
how, okay. Because then the flood happened.
Yeah.
And
which was kind of wild.
So because you hadn't been a volunteer for that long.
No.
And then Hurricane Helene came, and the weird thing is, though, we found a lot of our friends and family that aren't around here, you know, a lot of them, they had no idea that Tennessee even got hit at all because the news didn't really cover it except for the Unicoi Hospital because all those pictures and like the craziness. That was
like the one news story that made national news out of Tennessee.
Yeah. And I actually just read that they're going to be rebuilding that hospital. I don't know when.
Behind the Walmart on the Tinker Road exit. I think sometime in the next year they're hoping to get started.
Because they have to tear the other one down.
Yep. And they're doing that right now.
Like, okay. All right. It's in full demo mode.
Yeah.
And so that was the only exposure that people had was that little tiny
50
hospital.
people getting airlifted off the roof of a hospital in the middle of all this water.
It looked like a movie. And so it was weird because then people were like, wait a minute, you guys got hit? And we're like, dude, we got hit hard. And it was I actually remember because we came to the church
shortly after.
I know, because you guys were doing all those donations. Brian, what did we did something. We had to go to the church. I think I don't even remember now. It was like pretty close, and you were in the throes of things, and because we were trying to
switch back and forth from the volunteer firefighter hat to the pastor hat, running around. It was crazy.
Were you called in to help with that right away?
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Flood happened September 27th of 2024. Mm-hmm. Yep. And it was at the beginning of 24 that I came on with the fire department. So kind of in the first few months of 2024, I was onboarding with the fire department.
Yeah.
And then with volunteer departments, they have certain requirements. So you have to do it's a 16-hour training to you have to knock out before they even let you go out on any calls. And then even when you're out on calls with the 16-hour training, you have to be, with an officer. Mm-hmm. So there's certain stipulations to training. So during that time, I had kind of gotten my 16-hour training knocked out. And then I had been out on maybe a handful of calls. Mm-hmm. I could probably count on one hand the amount of calls that I had been out on. And the week of Helene leading up to it, they had probably Wednesday of that week, they had put out kind of word like, hey, we're supposed to get some rain and high winds this weekend. They kind of knew a storm was coming in. Yeah. So they said, if you got a couple extra hours, on Friday, Saturday, that you can go out and run a chainsaw, there's probably going to be some trees down on power lines, clearing roads. So that weekend we had a men's retreat slated for the church at Appalachian Christian Camp for Friday evening, kind of going into Saturday. Mm-hmm. And so I woke up Friday morning. I actually woke up early, went and worked out, just like a normal day, right? Like I have a workout. I don't know if you've ever heard of F3. It's a men's workout group. We can talk about that later. Okay. I'd love to talk about F3 a little bit, but cool. There's a free men's workout group, and there's a group of guys that meets in Irwin 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There's other groups that meet in Johnson City and in the Tri-Cities area. But I went and worked out. We worked out outside in the parking lot. So like we were outside that morning. It was dumping cats and dogs. I mean, it was raining and windy and nasty, but we went out and worked out.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that's nice and welcomed when you're working out.
Yeah.
Because you're hot and sweaty anyways.
So I go and work out that morning. I come home, like things are like just like a normal day. Shelby is getting ready. She's got the opening shift. So she's got to be at work at like 9 a.m. So she's getting ready to leave. It's like 8:30 a.m. And right as she's walking out the door, they have a little app on the phone for the first responders that kind of pings you. And so my essentially the page went off right as Shelby's walking out the door. So I said, hey, I got a couple hours. The retreat doesn't start till this evening. So I said, I can go help with a response. So Shelby leaves for work. I head up to the fire station, get suited out. We end up, so that was 9 a.m. And I think like we ran all day. Like we headed down to, I'm trying to think of the exact time frame. It's been almost a year and a half now.
Yeah.
But I remember.
Which is crazy that it's already been a year and a half.
Yeah. We were in the truck heading down 26 toward Irwin, and I remember we were going fat, like we were hauling, full lights and sirens, and I thought, I feel like something is going on. And at that point, I had no idea that there was any flooding happening.
Yeah.
Like I had been in Irwin that morning and then back to Unicoi. They're not that far apart. And we got down to the hospital there in Irwin, and there had been first responders there already evacuating the hospital, but by the time we got down there, the water was coming up so fast that the first responders and the last of the patients were already trapped inside the hospital. So they had swiftwater rescue boats and crews down there trying to scramble boats to get over to the hospital at that point while the water's still coming up, and they tried to get a couple of boats out there, and just the current was going so fast they couldn't get boats across to them, and we ended up having to pull back because the water's still coming up. And then at that point, the water went over Interstate 26. And
were you on 26 at this point, or you had gotten off the exit and you were towards the hospital?
So we were off the exit and down the road toward the hospital. And as they're scrambling boats, we're having to slowly pull back just because the water was coming up that quick. And we ended up having to pull back kind of up onto the overpass just to find some high ground. But when the water started coming up over 26, of course, they closed the interstate down, and there's hundreds of cars backed up in either direction. So we started doing kind of evacuation of all the vehicles off the interstate over Jackson Love Bridge, and it was just crazy. I mean, the Riverview Church is right there that got flooded, and it was actively flooding. I mean, you're watching cars and RVs and, every manner of thing that you could imagine just getting torn up and floated down the river past you.
Yeah.
Just nuts.
So when you evacuated people on the highway, does that literally
off
mean...
the highway.
Okay. Like get out of your car and run, basically?
No. So they were still driving at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, because the water was coming up over the interstate, but they could still get off the exit and come over the overpass and then get out, essentially get out of the way into Irwin up in higher ground. Yeah.
The weirdest thing, I think, post flood was to drive, and like you could drive and it would look totally normal, and then all of a sudden 2 seconds down the road it was like literally the end of the world. Like it was crazy, and it was so weird to have that feeling of, oh look, it doesn't even look like what came through here, like in the same sentence. It's like oh my gosh. And then how many roads that were down. So it was just crazy. All right, so you just evacuated 26.
Well, and I'm also, like, at the same time,
and this is the morning, like, still,
evacing cars and trying to call my wife Shelby at work to, like, make sure, because, like, I know this river is flooding, but I don't know what else is going on. And, like, I'm trying to call her to make sure she's okay. And, like, similar sentiment in Johnson City, many people, no idea what was happening at the time. Like, I had been in Unicoi that morning, and I had no idea the scope of things. But here, the hospital is getting flooded. People are getting up onto the roof of the hospital. They're calling for airlifts. I mean, it was crazy.
Okay. So then you're trying to get a hold of Shelby. Did you get a hold of her?
Yep.
Okay.
Got a hold of, and things were kind of business as usual in Johnson City, just high winds and rain. We're touching base with people from the church because we got quite a few folks in our church that live in the area there. So trying to get a hold of people. But like you said, it was a lot of people had no idea what was going on. I had somebody from the church was calling me at one point during the course of the day on Friday, because the power was out and asking if I knew when the power would be back on. And I'm thinking to myself, because the power is off, they had no television, so they didn't know what was going on. And so it was like, well, I don't think the power's coming back on anytime soon.
Like it might, yeah. So then were you in that position the rest of the day? Did you move? Did you guys have to end up leaving that area? Where did you go from there?
We went so they had crews doing all manner of things that day. So we were scrambling to do whatever we could do, and part of that meant continuing to run calls because people in houses had trees coming down on the houses, so going to check in on them and chop trees up. There was trees down on power lines, so we're trying to get power lines freed up and roads cleared because there was trees blocking roads, power lines blocking roads. Calls were coming in about folks that needed oxygen tanks, and delivery was getting shut down because of what was happening. So we were, running to different medical facilities to pick up oxygen tanks to deliver to people's houses so that they would have oxygen supply, just all kind of manner of stuff. But we ran, I don't know, it was at 10 or 11 at night before we kind of were back at the station, and they said, hey, go home, get a few hours of sleep, come back first thing in the morning, we'll get back after it again. Yeah.
So then you went home and did that.
Slept for a couple hours and then
right back.
Yeah, woke right back up, and then at that point
had the waters receded the next morning already? Because I know that was also fast.
It was quick. I think, to my understanding, the waters kept rising all day Friday into the night, and then peaked at about 2 a.m. from what I understand.
Okay.
Kind of Saturday morning. And then by the time it was Saturday afternoon, the river was back down to normal levels, which is nuts.
Yes.
Within a matter of 24 hours.
Yeah. All that destruction in 24 hours. Yeah. So then where were you on the second day? Where were you on Saturday? Just running around again?
We got some information Friday evening that they were going to be setting up kind of incident command at the middle school in Irwin the next morning. So kind of word went out, meet at this time at Unicoi Middle School. They ended up having the middle school as kind of the incident command, and the high school as the primary shelter down there in Unicoi County. So we got up early the next morning, went and grabbed the trucks, rolled down, and by that time there was not only the crews from our area, but from other areas coming in, people from out of state coming in. And so they started sending groups out. They kind of got a plan put together. So on Saturday, we were delivering food to folks, food and water to people that were still trapped in place with no water, no power. We were still running a variety of calls. It was, just doing a little bit of everything, getting all over. Our department has a couple of toilet trucks.
Interesting.
When you have a big event or something, you'll pull up a trailer and drop it off that's got a couple toilets in it. And I don't know, I've had a few people ask me about what kind of doing first response that week looked like, and some of the things that I was doing that week were like with the high school acting as the primary shelter and a bunch of people staying over there, and because not only in Unicoi County, not only was the hospital taken out, but the water treatment plant was taken out, the sewer treatment plant was taken out, and some other stuff, the whole industrial park. I mean, it was so. No running water, so they had all these toilet trucks, and I spent an entire day, one of the days that week, I spent the whole day just running trailers with,
full.
Yeah, yep, just running poop. That was the glorious job of first responder, but that's what needed to be done that day, and unloading helicopters that were coming in and bringing in supplies and generators and you name it, just doing a little bit of everything. So,
And that went on for days, I'm sure.
Weeks, yeah. Well, and then also Saturday, I ran all day I don't know, 15, 16-hour day or something on Friday, and then same thing on Saturday. Then I get home at, I don't know, 11 p.m. or midnight on Saturday night, and then it's like, we're supposed to have church the next morning. So Saturday evening, I was trying to make calls and figure out, well, we're not going to just like do a normal church, but I still think it'd probably be good for us to get together and just kind of do a head count in some sense, make sure that everybody's okay, see if anybody needs anything, and then figure out kind of how we can respond as a church. So we ended up, Sunday morning, we still gathered together as a church, and I had a sermon written earlier that week. I just kind of tossed it in the trash. Because I was like, this is not going to be it. We just circled up a few pews. We prayed, took communion together, spent a little bit more time in prayer, and then said, what are we going to do? And so that Sunday morning, we opened up all of our buildings and facilities. And then from there, we were sending out teams of guys from the church, because we still had people who were in our congregation, connected to our congregation, that were trapped in place, couldn't get out of their houses, had no power, no water. So we had crews of guys out from the church that Sunday afternoon that were, removing power lines and getting trees cut out, getting people kind of freed up so that they could travel, and taking supplies to people. And then by Sunday evening, we were already receiving first waves of donations coming into the church.
What was the name of the organization that you guys ended up partnering with?
Which one?
There was
a bunch of them.
There was more than one?
Oh, tons.
Okay.
Tons.
Because you guys kind of became a hub in the area for donations.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember the other building that you have on property, you ended
Fellowship
up opening.
Hall.
Yeah, you ended up opening up the hall, and it was literally donations. And when we came there, there was people there cleaning and organizing and trying to go through all the things. And there was like pallets. You guys had pallets outside of things too, because you were like overflowing with awesome.
And we weren't the only church doing that. I mean,
it was amazing, the outpouring of donations and things that people had.
I think in that first week, I remember seeing some of the lists coming out of kind of collection and distribution centers for supplies and stuff. And there was about a dozen different places that had opened up for that in Unicoi County, and like 10 out of the 12 were local churches. And part of the reason we initially opened up too was because, like I said, we had, half of the people in our church were out of power, and the power actually got turned back on in the town of, so they typically start in kind of the more populated areas and then move out from there when they're working on the power grid. So the power came back on at the church pretty early on. So part of the reason we opened up was so people could come charge cell phones and, come get a case of water and, some food. And but yeah, the donations just came pouring in. And we had our facilities open 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, week in, week out for weeks. And we had churches from Johnson City that were sending volunteers that were essentially, because we're not a very big church. We're kind of a small church out there. We average about 40 people on a Sunday morning. So we had all kinds of people from other groups and from out of state that came rolling in. Appalachian Christian Camp, that's only like 5 minutes from the church, they housed a ton of people. There were basketball teams that were traveling that couldn't get back home that they were putting up. They had dozens of linemen that were coming in from out of state that were staying there, working on getting the power grid back up to speed. They had, I think, 10 different families that were displaced as a result of the flood that had lost homes that were staying out there at the camp. So we very quickly kind of partnered with Appalachian Christian Camp and said, hey, anything you guys need, come on down or send us a list and we'll send a group up there with whatever it is you need.
So did your duties just for weeks? It was like 12, 16-hour days and then preaching on Sundays and then just getting right back to it Monday?
I'll tell you a story. So like I said, small church. And the church used to, years ago, because the church kind of hit its peak in the 80s and then had dwindled down.
How long has it been around?
130 years.
Oh my gosh.
It's an old church.
Okay, wow.
Yep.
All right, so it's been around just a couple of years.
Just a couple of years.
All right, go ahead. In the 80s.
So they used to have like a phone, like a landline in the church building. But like when I got to the church 7 years ago, there was no more phone in the church.
Yeah.
So when the church didn't even have a website when I got to the church. So I got a website up and running for the church, and because it didn't have a phone, at the time, Dave was preaching there, so we kind of put his phone number down. And then when I started preaching, like, the church phone was my cell phone. Because most everybody in the church had it, and if somebody was going to try to get a hold of the church,
they were calling you.
Yeah, they were going to call me. And very quickly, in that first week after the flood, there was several kind of back-to-back days where I was doing 60, 70, 80 plus phone calls a day.
Oh my gosh.
And Shelby pulled me aside one evening and goes, go to Walmart right now and buy a track phone and put some minutes on it, and that's going to be the new church phone, because you need some kind of a separation here, and have somebody who's running the front desk at the fellowship hall with the collection and distribution center answer some calls for you, because that's unsustainable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Did you end up getting a landline in the long run too?
We have a church, it's a cell phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I have a great volunteer with the church now that has the cell phone, and she fields the calls, and if she gets one that needs to go through me, she'll give me a call.
Well, that's great then.
Beautiful. Thank you, Shelby. If you're watching this, it's giving you a shout out.
All right. So how long till things started calming down for you post-flood?
Months.
Yeah.
Yeah. We spent weeks in a state of emergency. And I mean, they were still searching for bodies for weeks and weeks on end.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all a little bit of a blur at this point. It's kind of hard to,
When I think there are still people that are missing, aren't there?
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Not in Unicoi County they found I think there was like one person unaccounted for in Unicoi County, and they found their remains like 6 months later.
Okay.
So I think that was the last person in Unicoi County.
It's just crazy though, the amount of destruction that happened and the swath of destruction actually through, I think it was, Brian, was it that weekend that we were driving, trying to go around to see if we could help, and we aren't too familiar with the Unicoi and Irwin area. And so we were trying to get down, but we couldn't get into certain areas to help because there was just local first responders that were stopping
Roads
and where
out.
are you going? And we're like, listen, we're not trying to be crazy. We just, want to see if there's something we can do.
One of the reasons why we opened up in Unicoi our facilities, part of the rationale was first responders are still actively doing search and rescue in the flooded zone.
Yeah.
And if we can if we can alleviate some of the traffic coming in from outside and have them come to Unicoi, then that would help kind of free up some of the traffic just with that many roads. I mean, the interstate was out.
Yeah. And that's what we were like, all right, at this point we're going to just be more of a problem. So yeah, but it was just so weird. We just felt weird sitting there and not doing anything, because it was I don't know, it was just weird times. Very weird to go through something that catastrophic and have it literally be right here at our doorstep, and then for us to have no damage and be completely fine and be like, oh my gosh, we were able to go to the bathroom when we wanted to, and we actually could go to the store still and get groceries. It was just it was surreal for a really long time to be on the other side of that, where it didn't affect you at all.
There was a weird moment. I think I did not leave Unicoi County for about 30 days.
I bet.
I think it was about a full month before I actually left Unicoi County and came into Johnson City. And I came in to visit Shelby at work or something at Barnes & Noble, and it was like a weird, surreal moment, just because I'm unloading helicopters day in and day out, and we're delivering supplies to people, and they, it was like a war zone in some sense. And then after that for 4 weeks straight, and then all of a sudden, I come into Johnson City and I go into Barnes & Noble and order a cup of coffee, and I'm sitting there drinking a coffee, and there's mellow music playing in the background, and life is just kind of going on like normal, and it's like this is just kind of trippy. Like, it was weird.
Have you had any like, I don't want to say like PTSD, but like, have you had any issues since then?
I'm sure I have.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I talked with Shelby about early on was she encouraged me. She was like, "Yeah, you should probably be talking to somebody about some of this stuff."
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was like, okay. So I started seeing a counselor early on, and have been regularly seeing a counselor for the last, I don't know, it's been 16 months now or something like that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another more sage advice from Shelby.
Oh, yeah. She's a rock star. She's my better half by a long shot.
Yeah,
So.
she just helps you out.
Yeah.
She just wants you to...
Well, in the first few weeks after Helene, I'm still in school technically. I didn't mention that when you asked me about what I was doing. I'm still in school technically.
Okay, just another hat.
Working on a doctorate program over at Emmanuel Christian Seminary at Milligan University.
Okay.
So working on a doctorate of ministry. And yeah, in the month like after Helene, I looked at Shelby and I was like, I'm dropping out. I can't do it. Like, I had like assignments that were coming up due, and I was like, I haven't thought about this. I haven't read the books. I haven't touched it. Like I have zero. But she was like, maybe you should wait to make any major life decisions in the middle of a crisis. And that's some pretty wise advice.
Well, I'm pretty sure that your professors probably also understood what
they
was
had a
going
ton
on.
of grace. Oh, yeah.
So you're in the middle of that program right now?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, probably more so toward... I'm in one class this semester. I have 2 classes this summer. When I finish those, I'll be totally done with all the classwork, and then it'll just be kind of research and writing after that.
Cool. And what's your goal?
I have a draft proposal, so all of this is still tentative and on the table.
Okay.
Open to change. But my draft proposal centers around the revitalization of dying churches.
Okay.
I feel like very much in many ways my work at Unicoi Christian Church over the last 7 years has been just that.
What's been the most challenging thing?
In that work or in the...
At Unicoi Christian Church?
I feel like that's a lot to answer.
Oh, okay.
When I first got there 7 years ago, I just came on part-time and was doing youth ministry there. And there was 4 kids.
Okay.
2 sets of sisters, so all 4 girls. I was like, I don't know what to do with the 4 little girls. The church that I had been at prior doing youth ministry, the youth group was bigger than the entirety of Unicoi Christian Church at the time.
Yeah. No, wait, was that here?
No, that was in Utah.
Okay, are you originally from Utah?
No, not at all.
All right.
That's a whole story too.
All right.
Yeah, let's see. Grew up in a military family.
Okay.
So I was born on the East Coast. I was born in Virginia.
Okay.
Lived all over the place growing up. Like a dozen different places.
Okay.
Lived overseas some when I was young, came back stateside, North Dakota, Alabama, Illinois, Hawaii.
Oh, man, Hawaii.
It was
you
rough.
Just lost Brian at Hawaii. He just melted inside and was like...
Lived on Oahu for about 4.5 years. Hickam Air Force Base.
Wow.
14 Julian Avenue. I still remember the address. I don't know why I remember that. But yeah.
Sometimes that stuff just sticks with you.
The house we were at there... on Hickam Air Force Base, you could look through the kitchen window and see the channel that goes into Pearl Harbor. And so when the aircraft carriers or destroyers would be coming in or out of the harbor, you could look out the kitchen window and just see these massive ships coming in or out.
I bet that was cool.
Wild.
Yeah. All right. So after Hawaii, sorry, go ahead.
Hawaii was my dad's last duty station, and he retired.
Okay.
My dad's originally from Washington State out on the West Coast.
Okay.
So his parents, my grandparents were still alive at the time, and they lived there in the greater Seattle area. So we moved back to the greater Seattle area. So when people ask me where I'm from, I kind of say Seattle because I lived there the longest. Spent about a better part of a decade in the greater Seattle area.
It's a weird question because I'm with you on that one because I was born in Wisconsin, but and I lived there for the first few years of my life, and then I moved to Minnesota. And then
which one are you from?
We also moved a million times. We weren't a military family, but my parents always took the opportunity to say yes.
Yeah.
And, always at the time when you're younger, it's like, dang it, what are you doing? And then afterwards you realize, oh, okay, it wasn't that bad. And so I say Wisconsin just because that's where I was born. And
Originally,
so, that's it. It's just so easy. And then, sometimes you can hear it in my O's. I'll be like, oh, my gosh. And then people are like, wait a minute.
Hold up.
Like, oh, no, it just came out. Or, lift up your mic a little bit.
Oh,
yeah, Brian just gave me the symbol.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yep.
Or then they'll be like, are you from the Midwest? And I'm like, yeah. You heard it. You heard it in my O's.
You betcha.
Oh, yeah. But that's mainly like Norwegian. That's the really thick accent. So I just say Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I usually say the Seattle area.
Yeah.
Go Seahawks.
But where in Seattle? Because I lived out west for a while because I've lived everywhere. I lived in Portland.
Yep. I lived in Portland for a little bit too. Yeah.
It's hilarious. Where did you live in Portland?
82nd Street, Northeast.
All right. I lived in the Pearl.
Okay.
And I lived on the park blocks.
Nice.
And it was awesome. It was crazy. And I used to go to Seattle all the time for work. And then when I was up there, I was like, dang it, because I love 90s grunge music. I just love
Seattle's
grunge.
a hub for it.
Well,
yeah.
and I love coffee. So every time I would go up there, I was like, dang it. I was like, why didn't I just stinking move to Seattle instead of Portland, which was close? But, I mean, God works in mysterious ways.
True. How long were you in Portland for?
A little over a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went out there for work. I went through some craziness in my 20s. I went through a divorce. And so I just needed a fresh start. And so God opened a door
Go to
for
the West
a job.
Coast.
And it was literally, so I was in Florida at the time, and that was Portland. So I went from sunshine and flat to like rain, but everything is super lush and green and like gorgeous. And I was like,
and the mountains.
Well,
you got the Cascade Range there too.
I'll stinking go to Portland for a little bit. And then I ended up finding a church there that there was a pastor that's Door of Hope.
Okay.
It was in Southeast. I actually think it's still in Southeast maybe. I'm not sure. They might have changed locations. But the pastor there, he was amazing. And he ended up being a counselor for me. And so I was just like, that's why I went there. And not Seattle. Both
of my brothers went to George Fox University in Newburgh, just 45 minutes outside of Portland. So my younger brother and his wife, their family, they still live in the Newburgh area. So I kind of frequent there still. Yeah.
Well, that's fun. I haven't been to Portland. Brian's never been, and I'd love to take.
You got to go.
I'd love
road
to take
trip.
him and the boys, and just because it's just such a beautiful area. The West Coast is like.
You got to do the ridiculous drive. You got to do go into Idaho, and then drive the Columbia River all the way over to Portland, and then you can hit the coastline too.
Well, I like if you go up through Northern California too, and then you can hit Bend.
Hit the redwoods up in Northern California.
Yep. Bend, and then you go through Sisters, Oregon, and those little crazy back roads, and up through the mountains. That one time I almost got into an accident with a semi on one of those mountain roads on my way down to Bend, and it was just one of those surreal experiences where I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm alive after this because the roads were slippery. The tractor trailer, it was this kind of a thing. We were on those. You know how small those roads are. And it was
a lot of those mountain passes. They'll just close during the winter. Leave them closed all winter long.
This one was not. Or maybe it was closed to tractor trailers and he just took the chance. It was crazy. But it's a beautiful place. It does rain a lot though, and that was hard.
It's true.
It was hard to go from the sunshine of Florida all the time to the rain of Portland, but the inner grunge 90s in me was this is fine. This is good. This is good for me.
I had sad seasonal affect disorder when we first moved, because we moved from Hawaii to the Seattle area.
Okay.
And we got settled in there, and I was 11 at the time, going into 6th grade, and it was just a rough year. Of course, middle school is I feel for a lot of people, middle school is a rough time. But it was a rough, and I'd come home from school and cry and be I just hate my life. And my parents are I feel like this is a little more than just, and so we ended up going to a doctor, and they were well, have you tried, you guys moved here from Hawaii, there may be a little bit of a deficit. Have you tried giving them some vitamin D?
Yeah.
And they tried it, and I was like, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Wow.
Yeah.
So vitamin D did it for you. It's really important. Do you still take it to this day? Because you should.
I do a multivitamin
Okay.
these days.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Like a Men's Health thing. I don't know.
So how often? So is Shelby's family also from Seattle too?
No.
Okay.
No.
Where are they from? And where did you guys meet then?
That's a story in and of itself.
All right.
She was born in California.
Okay.
They transitioned to Idaho. So she was raised in Boise, Idaho. We met in 2012. We were both incoming freshmen to Boise Bible College.
Okay.
And that was a little bit of a wild time because I got kicked out of my freshman year of college.
Okay.
I got expelled. Apparently, when you party at a Bible college and they have a code of conduct, they don't think too highly of that.
They generally frowned upon.
Yeah.
I was going to say Bible college and say we had a wild time. Definitely.
I had
is
a
an
wild
interesting
time. For
sentence.
most everybody
Yeah.
else, it was a whole lot more mellow. So, I was actually the freshman class president too.
Oh wow.
So it was
So
like
that
a double.
stung the school a little bit
man.
more.
Yeah. But when I say we met, like we knew of each other, but we probably never spoke more than like 5 sentences to each other out in Boise. I ran around for a few years. That's a whole story in and of itself. Bounced around, worked some different jobs, rehab, the whole 9 yards. I ended up coming back, and she moved out to Tennessee a year before I did to attend seminary at Emmanuel. And I didn't even know that she had come out here. I think just as I was transitioning out, somebody had mentioned that she had come out here. So I moved to Tennessee a year after she did, and then we kind of reconnected, had a couple classes together, and so kind of a wild story. The way I like to tell the story is I had to chase her 2,000 miles across the country just to get a date, and then she'll shake her head and go, "That's not really true, though." So
Well, that's all right.
it makes for a great story, though.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Yeah.
So then you asked her on a date, and then the rest is history?
Mm-hmm. I invited her to come to a middle school boys YMCA basketball game with me.
Okay. And
That
she
wasn't
said
our
yes.
first official date, but that
Okay.
was like my first official ask.
Okay.
And then at the end of that night, I was like, "You think I could take you out to dinner sometime?" Took her to Cheddar's, Johnson City. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Well, I mean, that was just a few years ago.
Not long
so
ago.
that's...
Well, we dated for 3 years before we got
okay,
married.
okay.
So this is 5.5 years
Yeah.
ago, something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. So then, did she end up graduating from there as well? Is she also... Okay.
Nah.
All right.
Yeah, she got promoted at Starbucks and loved what she was doing
Yeah.
and goes, "I'm just going to focus on work." So
Yeah.
yeah,
So she loves coffee probably as much as I do.
she is about the coffee life. Yeah.
So how does she drink it though? What's her preferred?
You would have to ask her that question.
Okay. Oh, all
because
right.
I have really tried to like up my coffee game
Yeah.
since we've been married. And it's hard when you're married to somebody who's been like a professional barista for X amount of years. And yeah, it's like anytime I ever make her coffee, she'll like take a sip and you can see it in her face. She goes,
This is
"It's good. It's good." You know?
Good
So,
job.
yeah. I'm a very basic kind of coffee guy.
So you just drink it black? We're drinking black coffee right now.
Yeah.
But that's so that
I'll
we
drink
can
black
try and
coffee.
taste.
I'll drink it with cream and sugar. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm more in it for the caffeine. I know that's very utilitarian.
Do you like the way it tastes though?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know that's like the biggest stumbling block for people is to try and get. They're like, I just don't like the way it tastes.
I just drink a lot of it.
You either do
Yeah.
or you don't. Like
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
But
it is what it is.
yeah. Oh, take a sip of coffee. There you go. Perfect.
Cheers.
All right. So we've talked
Where
about.
were we?
Well, you were talking about Shelby. We were talking about coffee connoisseur.
Not me.
Yeah. No,
She
not
is.
you. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Just
I have-
basic.
She would say I have an unrefined palate, which is true.
Sorry, I've been called a coffee snob before, and the first time that I heard that, I was like, not. And then I was like, is it a snob though to know how you like it and what you want? Like I like lattes. I like, espresso shots that's hugged with the precious love of milk. Like that's it. I'm not a flavor person. I'm not a spice person with cinnamon on it. I don't go for any of that stuff. like to drink the coffee.
Usually, if I can have some cream and sugar with it, I'll have a little cream and sugar. But I don't mind drinking it black either.
Do you ever get the jitters by having too much caffeine?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't jitter here. I can tell when I've had too much caffeine because my eyelid will start to twitch.
A little flutter.
Yeah, the eyelid twitch.
Yeah. There's a time. So
as I have an energy drink and a cup of coffee sitting in front of me.
That's right. Where's your water? You need to like balance, rinse
hydrate
it.
and caffeinate at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Water and a little.
My water's in the car.
Oh, that's too far away. Don't worry about that. That's hilarious. Coffee. Brian's drinking tea. Good on him. He's trying to up his water intake.
I do like tea too. When I a few years back went to England and over there in the UK, they're like it's tea all over the place. But they serve coffee like for the Americans. So like you go into a restaurant and they'll be like, "Can I get you some tea?" And they'll be like, "Oh, you're American. Can I get you some coffee?"
Yeah.
And so I started drinking tea more while I was over there, and I was like, I like this too. So
just black tea, right? English.
I drink Earl
English
Grey.
Breakfast.
English
Earl Grey.
breakfast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shelby's got a full selection of dozens
she?
of teas.
Okay.
Yeah, she loves tea too.
Wow.
So,
she
and I'll drink those teas as well. But if you ask me, like, hey, what kind of tea you want? Earl Grey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you put it? What do you put milk in that?
Maybe.
Okay.
I can. I don't have to.
Yeah. I'm just not a. Every time I just take a sip of tea, which I'll drink it sometimes if I want at nighttime instead of, you want something. I'm not a chamomile person though, but herbal. I'll do some herbal maybe at night. Yep. And every sip, I'm just like, all right, this is just going towards my water intake because I just wish it was coffee. I do. It's not. I try to like tea. It's like pickles. I don't like pickles.
No.
I like cucumbers, so I like pre-pickles.
Oh, interesting.
But I don't like
pickles
actual
before
pickles.
They were pickles.
And I'd love to just have pickles as a snack. I would love to. And so just like tea, I'll force myself to eat a pickle. And I'm just like, gosh, I just don't really enjoy this. Right. So it's just some of those things.
To each their own.
I know. We have to do as an adult to try and I'm going to keep trying this. I'm going to keep trying it until I like it.
I eat everything. Yeah. I don't know if I've met a food or a drink that I'm like, I don't know if I like that.
Have you had escargot?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you like that?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right. Any other crazy foods that you can think of, Brian? We're just Brian's eaten a lot too, actually.
Seafood, you name it.
Yeah, but you've never had escargot, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, octopus. Oh. Yeah. All right. So firefighting, we brushed on Helene.
Yeah.
Since
then I've done some more stuff, but that was like my baptism by fire into hey, welcome to being a first responder.
Yeah. So I feel like we started to talk about Unicoi Christian Church, and then we've taken some tangents.
It's true.
How hard is it to be a pastor? That's a loaded question.
Depends on the day.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the interesting things about the pastoral role too. Sometimes you get to accompany people in their best moments and also in their worst moments. I mean, you some days it's like you're celebrating the birth of a baby and doing a dedication or doing a wedding, and it's very exciting, and then the next day you're doing a funeral or with somebody in a hospital room.
Which is exhausting, though, to go from those extremes.
A lot of highs and lows.
Yeah, it is exhausting, and it's a special calling for sure, because pastors are held to a different standard.
It's true.
And
it's true.
And the funny thing is that we're all just sinners at the end of the day.
We're just people too.
Yeah. So it's just really funny, that as pastors, it's tough. It's not
the book, The Wounded Healer. I think it's Henry Nouwen, maybe. Yeah. It's a really good one. Yeah.
I actually remember my pastor at Door of Hope, Pastor Josh White. He used to talk about that book, and then he had a song. There was two that was Wounded Healer, so our band, Golden Vanity, back in the day.
Yep.
Our first album. Well, actually, no.
The originator for the name of this podcast.
On our little, CD. When you open up the CD.
I know what those are.
Yeah. In one of the little areas on the binding, sometimes you have if band has a catchphrase, and so ours was "Wounded Music for Wounded People," because that's what we are, and it's just so funny because we're all there.
Oh, yeah.
We're all the exact same. We're all wounded.
Yeah.
And we just wear our wounds differently. But yeah, so it's funny that you just said wounded healer, because then I just, you know, how my brain went to boop, 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 wounded music for wounded people. And so hence, yes.
Yeah. So out of the band name spawned the name for this podcast.
Yes. So the Golden Vanity was a folk song back in the day.
Okay.
And it's like your epitome sad story. Are any folk songs happy, number one? Probably not. They're all pretty kind of depressing, like the old ones. So this story is about a cabin boy on a ship.
Okay.
And in the folk song, he's the age of 12 and 3. Because, you know, folk songs weave that story. So he's 15.
Yep.
And he falls in love with the captain's daughter. And the captain's like, you're a cabin boy. This is the captain's daughter. It's not going to happen.
No.
So he keeps repeatedly, I'm in love with
Classic
you.
trope. Yeah.
I'm in love with your daughter. I'm in love with your daughter. And the captain's like, oh, okay. Well, our Turkish enemy is over there. So if you jump in the water and drill holes in the side of his boat and sink the Turkish enemy, I'll give you the hand of my daughter in marriage. And so the cabin boy's
This is quite the song.
He's like, heck yes, I'm going to stink and go.
Down.
So he goes and he, you know, drills holes in the side of the boat. The boat sinks, and he comes back to the ship, the Golden Vanity, and he's like, pull me up. And they don't pull him up, and he drowns in the lowland.
That's a terrible story.
Sea.
Whoa.
He drowns in the lowland sea, and so it's really depressing.
Yeah,
but at
super
the same
sad.
like at the same time, the reason that we chose that name is like we literally have all been in that exact same spot of just like having that passion for something, losing it, you know, no matter the capacity. And so even though it could be a metaphor, obviously, because we're sitting here, we haven't lost our lives.
Yep.
But it's just like that resonated with us, and we all learned that folk song too when we were young. And so we were like, that's the band name, is the Golden Vanity.
There it is.
And then I just naturally from the band became Leah Vanity. And it's not about, you know, vain beauty or anything like that. It's literally just because of the band.
The name.
Yeah. And it was just.
How long was this band in existence for?
Well, we started when we were all in high school, which was the 90s.
90s were great.
Yeah. And then my brothers went to college, and they continued. So my older brothers, Josh and Jeremiah, are like the masterminds. They did all the music and wrote all the lyrics. They just like, they crushed it. And then it was me on bass guitar and vocals, and then our drummer wasn't related, but he may as well have been because
part of the crew.
He was like a brother.
Yeah.
You know, we just brought him in. And so we started kind of in the 90s with some music, and then we recorded. So my brother Josh went to Wheaton, Wheaton College in Illinois.
Yep.
And we actually were able to go and record at Wheaton. I don't remember. We did a couple of songs or
Pulling
just
some
one.
strings, getting some recording
Yep.
time in the studio.
Heck yes.
Yeah,
we were like, yeah. And it was funny because I was in high school at the time, and I was like, yeah, guys, I got to go to...
Gotta go to this college to go
Gotta
record
go to
in the
Illinois
studio.
this weekend. And it's funny because there was actually there was a party at the college that weekend. But I mean, you know, it was Wheaton, and so they were very clean parties. And I think it was called Chocolate Fest, legit. So my brother took us into the dorm, and it was just like room after room, and people were just literally having chocolate, or like they had games with chocolate, and we were just like,
Sounds like a Bible college party.
It was
Yeah.
hilarious. And we were like, all right, but we thought it was the coolest thing ever because,
Sweet.
like, I don't know. I was maybe a freshman at that point, or maybe a sophomore. So I was like, this is awesome. I'm at my brother's college. We are just crushing it. And so then after we all got out of college, and we ended up all living in Florida. And then we were like, okay.
The band got back together in Florida.
We're going to do this, and we're going to just have some fun.
Did you like travel, and like, did you play locally, or did like you go places and do gigs and, you know?
We went all over Florida.
Yeah.
Just playing, and we did 2 albums, and then we actually were voted MTV's next big thing. And then we did like, we just did all kinds of stuff. We played, we opened, I think I don't know, my brothers will remember. I want to say we might have opened for A Perfect Circle. We opened for a couple of bands. We didn't get to see them. We didn't get to meet them. We opened up for Ozma, which was a big one for us because we were big Ozma fans. And so we had the opportunity to do a lot of gigs.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we loved it so much. And it was just, oops, I just hit this. It was like it's just such a fun memories for me. And people ask me all the time, like, dude, why don't you play bass anymore? Do this or do this. And I'm like, I just love playing music with my brothers. I don't want to do it with anybody else. Because I just love those songs. They're super fun. And it just, like being on stage, and it was just amazing. So hence, when we were trying to come up with a name for this podcast, we were like, what the heck do we stink and call this thing?
Leah Vanity.
And then we were just like, man, Leah Vanity's been my name forever. So we'll just call it the Leah Vanity podcast. And then when we were coming up with the intro and like the outro music, we were like looking through Golden Vanity songs, and we're like, there's some good ones to choose.
There it is.
But my middle brother, Jeremiah, is just like a musical genius, literally. And he is still playing music to this day. And
as are your parents.
Yeah, I know. We're the whole
It's
family.
a musical family.
We love music. It's like a huge part of who we are. And so he just came up with an album a few years ago, and his new band is called Fight for the Users.
Okay.
Which is a little Tron nod if you've never seen Tron.
I have.
Okay.
The old one and the new one.
Oh, I was going to say the OG?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both.
All right.
But,
yeah.
well, both of my brothers, I don't want to mischaracterize my brothers here if they watch this. My older brother is a little bit of a nerd. So he was a big Tron guy. So when it came out in theaters, he had me like watch the OG Tron, and then. Yeah. But I don't. That was a while back.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And so he completely wrote, produced, and played every instrument and sang on this album, Fight for the Users.
Okay.
And his release is called Bag of Bones, and it crushed it.
Yeah.
It is like
an
amazing song. And so we were like, hey, can we use this? Because it is awesome.
Can we borrow this a little
He was
bit?
like, okay,
Can we sample this?
Yeah. And it, like, every time we hear it too, we get excited, and we're just like, man,
Get pumped
how
up.
did he crush that song? Like, it's so stinking good.
So when was it, like, how long ago were you guys like, hey, we're going to do a podcast? Was this just like a few months back? You were like, or had you been thinking about it for a while?
I think Brian had been thinking about it for a while. And over the past few months, like, we just love hearing people's stories. And
Brian, this is not a jab at you.
Yeah.
I feel like every guy, as they move into their 30s and 40s, is like, I should start a podcast. I feel like that's a fairly that's a trope.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I'm down for it.
Yeah, and so we plus ever since we moved here in 2023, people
that
operate.
was not that long ago.
No, 2023.
Man, it's only been 3 years.
It's only been a few years, and so like people, because we moved here from the Northeast, that's where Brian's from. But obviously, as we already brushed, I'm not from.
Where did you move here from?
Connecticut.
Okay.
And being business owners up there, like, people are very calloused. And it's not very easy to do business up there.
Kind of hard to break into the scene a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm not being. I don't. Brian was like, ooh, when I just said that, but I'm not like trying to be rude. I mean, people in the Northeast aren't necessarily known for being nice. There are nice businesses.
Well,
there are
the
nice
southern
people.
friendliness and kind of the northern western kind of bluntness. Oh yeah, you get that.
Exactly. And so it was a little difficult to have business up there. And then when we came down here, it was like people were like, hey, what's your story?
What are you doing?
How can we help you? And we were like, wait, what?
Whoa.
Huh?
It's crazy.
Yeah. And so we were just like, the people here just operate on a different level. God bless them for that. And so we were like, well, why don't we just
get it rolling?
Hear people's stories on whether they're pastors, whether they're business owners, whether they're volunteer firefighters. What is their story? What brought them here to the Tri-Cities? Like, we just want to learn more about people and maybe help them in that capacity of sharing their story and having like a place for it.
Love it.
And I mean, I prefer, like, I just want to be a better listener also, and to hear people, and not, I don't have to talk about myself, whatever. I just want to learn people's stories and be that person. So that's kind of how that started. And then, so we've just
So is Brian going to get roped in any of these podcasts? See?
He's shaking his head. He prefers to be behind the camera. And I just don't, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
You know, maybe like it goes back to my music days. I'm just like, what if?
You're used to the spotlight.
I'll just hang out, whatever. But I did feel more comfortable when I had my bass guitar in front of me.
Did you sing and play bass at the same time?
I did.
That's impressive.
I did backing vocals because we were influenced a lot by, you know, besides like 90s grunge, but obviously we like a lot of 3-part harmony. So we would have that, like your Queen, Beatles, all that. We would like do that with some rock music in the background. And
I play the drums.
So, oh, nice. Oh, yeah. Brian's a drummer too.
I'm not a good drummer by any stretch of the imagination, but
you dabble.
I can keep a beat.
Well, that literally is the definition of what drummers do.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom is a classically trained musician, and she actually got her master's degree in conducting.
Oh, wow.
So we grew up listening to Bach and Beethoven and Mozart in the car.
Ditto.
And, yeah, I know your parents, whenever I first told them this, they were like, what?
Yeah.
We like that? You know?
Yeah.
And my mom, for the longest time as I was growing up, thought I was tone deaf, as opposed to my brothers. Like, my older brother is a phenomenal singer. He sang in the choir for his college there at George Fox, and they traveled around and did the, choral performances and stuff. My mom still does some conducting and sings in a choir, and she's just an accomplished instrumentalist and musician.
Yeah.
And like growing up, she was like our middle child. I don't know what gene missed him, but like the man cannot match a pitch for his life. And so my parents told my brothers and I have 2 brothers, one older, one younger. I'm the perfect middle child. They said, when you hit 3rd grade, we'll let you pick an instrument and we will pay for lessons for that instrument.
Wow.
So my older brother hits 3rd grade and he goes, I'd like to try to play the classical guitar. And my parents go, what a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Get you some lessons,
Play the song Classical Gas. That's
then
a great
I hit
song.
3rd grade and I'm like, I want to play, like, I'm thinking like Muppets Animal. Like, I want to play the drums. My parents are like, what kind of a mistake have we just made?
Drums, the loudest, biggest instrument. Yeah.
So like as a 3rd grader, we were living in Hawaii at the time.
Yeah.
And there was a percussion studio, the Chuck James Drum Studio.
Okay.
In downtown Waikiki. And that's where they took me for drum lessons. So I learned kind of classic, like I learned how to read music first, like sheet music, drum music. So I played in band all the way through middle school, through high school, and could just about sight read anything they threw at us pretty flawlessly. But then, like, I've dabbled with a couple of different bands here and there, worship bands and stuff at churches too. And it was always interesting to me because I learned how to play the drums reading sheet music. And then, of course, for like, you get thrown into a worship team and they're like, oh, here's a trap set, jump on it and play. And it's, you just want me to like improv, like no music. I mean, you're just playing by ear all the time, which was not what I did when I learned how to play drums. So I can do that. I'm not phenomenal by any stretch of the imagination. And I haven't played regularly for a long time.
Yeah.
But
I God bless you for that. I can't wrap my head around the rhythm. I can't get my hands and my feet to do something different.
I can't sing and play at the same time. That's a skill. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I came from a musical background too.
Yeah. And then my younger brother was like, I want to play the violin. I was like, man, that's
Is
dainty.
he still playing?
Well, at a certain point, they said, your hands are getting so big, we should transition you to cello. So now he plays the cello.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Violin's one of those instruments, like, it would have been cool to play the violin. But I think we had a violin in our house, but I don't. Brian, I think, do we have a violin right now to this day? Oh, okay.
Who plays the violin?
Nobody.
Brian plays the violin. A little bit.
We're at that.
Impressive.
We're trying to get, trying to figure out. We just had this conversation with my parents the other day, actually, for our boys, because we have, 4 and 5.
How old are they? 4 and 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
3rd grade, you got to say, hey, we'll get you music lessons.
No, well, we're doing it right now.
You get them started early? Yeah.
So my dad learned how to play the piano, I believe, before he learned how to read. I think he was 3 when he started playing piano.
He's a phenomenal piano player.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
He's just like...
The man can tickle the ivory keys.
I'm pretty sure he could do it in his sleep.
Yeah.
Just good morning. And just wake up.
I feel like
whatever.
he speaks to the piano sometimes. Like he leans in and he's like, man, the piano is a little cold this morning. It just needs to warm up a little bit.
They just get each other. They really do. But so my grandma used to play piano and organ for silent films. Did he tell you that?
No. Well, he might have told me at some point.
It's like such a cool fact. Like, wow, never heard of anybody actually doing that. So she was a
Charlie
big
Chaplin
pianist.
films, you know, yeah.
And they both just did music and stuff in college, and it's so fun. And then I went to the middle school that my mom taught music at.
Okay.
And so that was really fun to like. I didn't have her as a teacher though, because I was in band. But plot twist, I played the oboe.
Whoa.
Yeah, oboe, bass guitar, totally unrelated.
It's a little bit of a change.
But yeah, so I would still go hang out in her classroom, and it was just fun to see her and her style, and she plays like every instrument and does all of it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it's just hilarious. So of course they would have 3 kids that
naturally
love music, and we all listen to different kinds of music.
Pass along that passion.
Yeah. So we want to pass that to our boys. So we're like trying to be like, hey, what instruments do you like? And we have, Brian's drum set at the house. And I mean, obviously, little boys definitely going to grab. They're like animal. They're going to be like, yeah, and just hit him as hard as they can. But we have the electronic drum set out right now because oh my gosh, that's loud enough anyways. Yeah. The real drum set would.
Oh yeah, at a certain point,
that'd be tough.
As I was taking lessons, like I asked my parents, like if we could get an actual drum set, and I think like that was the point. They were like, our neighbors are going to despise us.
Yeah.
But they did it.
Yeah. Well, and you learned how to play drums in Hawaii, of all places.
True. Yeah.
I was almost going to ask if you learned how to do a steel drum, but that's not really Hawaiian. It's more like Jamaican, I guess. Islander. Brian's laughing at me. Listen, I am not a drummer, Brian.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, whatever.
So
ukulele. Yeah, I know that.
You have
recorded
to just a few podcasts. Mm-hmm. 4 or 5, somewhere around in there.
Yep.
So this is have any of them been released yet?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you're already putting them out.
Yeah, because we don't edit, we don't do anything.
Just straight out.
Yeah, we just put.
But we're not live right now.
No.
Okay.
No,
cool.
Not live. We're just hanging out. But yeah, no, we just on Spotify just putting it out there and having fun, and then we have a bunch more people scheduled too. I think we have like 6 more scheduled already.
Nice.
Of people that will just sit and talk with us.
I was on a phone call on my way here, and my buddy Max, if you're watching this, because he told me to send the podcast to him after I did it. So Max, if you're watching this, if you made it this far, he asked me, he's like, what's the name of the podcast? And I was like, I don't know. And he goes, what do you mean you don't know? You're going to go be on a podcast and you don't know the name? And then his next question was, he's like, is it going to be live? Or are you recording it? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, what do you mean you don't know anything going in? So I was like, I don't know. I'm just going to go.
Yeah, just going to go hang out.
So Max, if you're watching this, I just learned the name of the podcast. It's Vanity Leah.
Leah Vanity.
Leah Vanity.
Yeah.
I'm getting it mixed up. Okay,
That's
Leah
okay.
Vanity. And then we're not live currently, but this is going to be put out soon.
Yeah.
Cool. There we go. Now I know.
Like within the next few days, however long it takes Brian, because he prefers to be behind the camera for some of this. So that's what we do.
I like it.
Cool. I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Can we pause
Quick
it
time
for
out?
a second? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that okay with you?
Break.
I've had so much to drink.
Yep.
And we're back. Bathroom break.
Done. Just like that.
So
Cool.
I want to hear more about Unicoi Christian Church.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it, so did you choose to come to that church? Did it just kind of like fall into your lap? How did that come into fruition?
When I moved out here, I'm trying to think where I want to start the story. When I was graduating from Bible college, I ended up, after a few years, figuring out what I was doing with my life and God kind of grabbing hold of my heart. Eventually, I went back to Boise Bible College and finished out my degree there. So that's where I finished out my undergraduate degree. And as I was coming up to finishing that up, I had a couple of options at the table. I had been interning during the summer prior and that upcoming summer at a church in Utah.
Okay.
And they had essentially offered me the full-time job doing youth ministry there in Utah. So I was thinking about that, but I'd also been, thinking for a while about military chaplaincy. Okay. Growing up in a military family and kind of the ministry calling with that kind of background. I thought about enlisting right out of high school. Didn't end up doing that, but I had several people kind of encourage me in the way of military chaplaincy. One of the prerequisites to be a chaplain in the military is a Master of Divinity degree or equivalent. And so coming out of Bible college, it was like, okay, do I want to go work full-time at a church, or do I want to continue my schooling and work toward that degree? And so I had looked around at a few different seminaries and looked at some in the Pacific Northwest, and somebody, I'm trying to remember the timeline in my mind, somebody mentioned to me Emmanuel. I knew nothing about it. They were like, there's the seminary out in East Tennessee, and they have a scholarship for students from the Pacific Northwest. I said, what?
Random.
Yeah, super random. And so I was like, okay. And so I called up the admissions office to ask about the scholarship, and they said, yeah, it's a scholarship. And I was like, okay, what's the catch? Like, what's my GPA got to be? How long an essay do I have to write? All of this stuff. And they were like, no, none of that. Like, just from being from the Pacific Northwest, you're eligible. And I was like, get out of here. Because I didn't really want to continue in school if I had to take out a bunch of student loans, because I finished out my undergraduate debt-free, and I was like, I don't really want to go into a bunch of debt for school. Yeah. So I was like, okay, how much is the scholarship? And they were like, well, it covers 75% of tuition all the way through. And I was like, get out of here.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Just
from like being from the Pacific, like I was like asking like the same question 3 or 4 times in a row, and they were like, yeah. So I was like, that sounds like a pretty good gig. So I packed everything I owned in the world in the back of a 2-door Honda Civic and moved out to East Tennessee, sight unseen. Yeah. Got accepted. And I finished out my undergraduate. I got ordained at the church that I'd been interning at there in Boise, went and worked through the summer at the church in Salt Lake. And then at the end of the summer, fall of 2018, moved out here to Tennessee. Okay. Some of the advice that I had gotten from some mentors in my life, they said, hey, one of the things that you should do while you're going to seminary is also be working at a church at the same time, just so that you can be getting practical experience and the stuff that you're learning in the classroom, like you have a spot where you're kind of meshing that together. I thought that's some wise counsel. So I moved out here. It was September or August of 2018, and the first week that I got here, I moved into the on-campus graduate housing at the Village over at Milligan University, kind of near Emmanuel. And I got an email that the college was looking for dishwashers. And I thought, well, I'm going to need a job in the meantime. And I walked over, and it's so funny. I've worked in some places washing dishes before. But I took a resume with me and like had a tie on and stuff because they had like scheduled an interview time. And I walked in and like handed the guy my resume, and he literally hands it back to me and he goes, "This is a dishwashing job. You have 2 hands." Okay. So like I got a job washing dishes on the undergraduate side in the cafeteria at Milligan. And then at the same time, Milligan University, it was Milligan College at the time, they have an online portion of their website that's a ministry listing site where they list out churches, nonprofits, all the churches, not just in our area, but regionally and out of state that are hiring. So I got on their ministry listing site, and it was probably a couple hundred listings. And so I spent several hours kind of just going listing by listing. A lot of the places I didn't know, so I'm just like looking up, like what's that near, And I come across this listing for Unicoi Christian Church. And I thought, what's a Unicoi? Yeah. It's like unicorn. I don't know. Yeah. So I plug it into my phone and I Google it, and it's 15 minutes from the school. Mm-hmm. And they're hiring for a part-time youth/associate position. And I was like, well, I've been doing youth ministry. Like, I can do that. So I sent them an email and said, hey, because some of the listings, they'll hire somebody, but the listing will still be listed. I said, hey, is this position still open? Are you guys still hiring for this? This is the first week that I moved here to Tennessee. Within 24 hours, I get an email back that says, yes, the position is still open. Come and worship with us on Sunday if you want to come up. So the second Sunday that I was here in East Tennessee, I show up to Unicoi Christian Church, worship with them, start to meet some people. They invited me back for an interview. I go through an interview process with them. They offer me the job. I asked for a couple weeks to think and pray about it, and got hired on within a month of being in East Tennessee.
Did you end up working the dishwasher job too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, make a little extra money.
Yeah, for sure.
And I got food out of the cafeteria, so that was not a bad gig.
Yeah. Especially when you're a college student, that's perfect.
It's true. Now, when I got hired on at the church, the guy who was preaching at the time, Dave, he was not living in the parsonage. He and his wife have a house in the area. And so the parsonage was open. So like as they were hiring me on, they were like, "Do you want to live in the parsonage?" And I was like, "Man, that's a lot really quick."
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I like,
yeah.
I told them, I was like, first of all, like, I don't know if you guys like me that much, and I don't know if I like you that much. Like, we just met.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want my housing to be that closely tied in with my job. So I said, how's this? I'm in a lease already at the Milligan Village for 9 months. Let me honor my lease there, finish out the 9 months. And we can check in, and if things are still going good at the church, and you guys like me, and I like you, and I plan to stay, then I'll move over to the parsonage. So for 9 months, I lived over on campus there at Milligan, and after 9 months, I moved to the parsonage is on the church property, literally 100 feet from the church itself. Mm-hmm. And so I moved in 9 months after being here.
And have you been there ever since?
Been there since, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So and then of course I did kind of youth ministry for the first year and a half. Mm-hmm. Then Dave and I, we did we did like an 18-month transition plan and like a full year of he would preach for a month and then I would preach for a month, back and forth. The church was small when I got there. I said there was only 4 youth kids. I mean, we'd have Sundays where there'd be 15, 18 people in service on a Sunday morning. Small church, fairly rural area, so maybe, I don't know, 20, 25 people. But within the first 18 months that I was there at the church, I think we had 6 funerals.
Mm. Wow.
So every 2-3 months for the first 18 months that I was there at the church. And Dave was there kind of in an interim position. He and I did a year of transition, preaching back and forth, month on, month off. And then he essentially, and I don't know, I'll give Dave a shout out on this. I mean, it's probably one of the best kind of ministry models that I've seen. He essentially worked himself out of a job to let me kind of step into that role, preaching full time, which I think needs to happen in a lot more at a lot of different churches. And it doesn't necessarily happen. But yeah, Dave's a stud, great guy. Still love him. We're still in contact. In fact,
does he still live here?
He's preaching full time still.
Oh no way.
He was retired and then he came out of retirement to go to Unicoi Christian, and then he retired again, and now he's preaching full time over at Valley Forge Christian Church. And they actually just hired on another guy who I know too. He's a stud, and Dave's planning on kind of doing the same thing with him that he did with me. Nice. And kind of transition out of that role and transition this guy in. So, yeah, super cool. So all of that to say, like, I've been at the church 7 years. After we did our transition year, I started preaching full time. That was right around when I finished my Master of Divinity degree at Emmanuel. So I kind of finished my degree, and well, it was a bit of a semester. I started preaching full time kind of a semester before I graduated, but yeah, been preaching full time there since.
And can people watch online and stuff too, or they can come in person? Where is the church?
We actually started live streaming before COVID hit, which was kind of wild.
Yeah.
That happened. It's a pretty low key live stream setup, but right now we are live streaming to Facebook every week. I'm working on live streaming to Facebook and YouTube at the same time.
Okay.
So that's the plan. The church itself is located in the town of Unicoi, UNICOI. It's on Tennessee Street, 417 Tennessee Street is the address.
Okay.
You can go to the website, UnicoiChristianChurch.com.
What time are the services?
One service, 11 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a little bit later in the morning. You can sleep in, not a bad gig.
Yep, you can see my parents do the music.
That's right. Brian and Joan rocking out up there on the stage. Me playing the drums in the background. Yeah. Roped them into it too. So that's been a whole lot of fun. Love having them around. They're great. Yeah. Great to work with.
They just
love. They like hanging out. They seem to like hanging out with me. Yeah, I love hanging out with them. Yeah.
They love the church. They just love doing music. Anything they can do, especially together. Like, music is their jam, and that's definitely how they love to, just witness to people and just be there.
And they do a great job of it. Yeah. They're incredible.
Yeah.
But the church it's been just kind of amazing watching God work over the last 6-7 years. In many ways, and I don't say this lightly, in many ways it was a dying church. Okay. Older congregation, and just over the last few years, there's been kind of a shift, and the first few years were tough, but the last 3 years, we've seen kind of back-to-back years of growth. We've been growing by about 15% each year over year, which sounds like a lot when I say 15%, but that's like 2 people, but makes a difference. So we, this last year, we averaged right around 40 people a Sunday, which is almost double in size to what it was when I got there, which is incredible. So God's just been doing some incredible things out there and working in and through a bunch of people. And so, yeah.
Do you have kids programs and stuff there
We
as
do.
well?
Yeah,
programs?
absolutely.
Okay.
And we got so I'm the only full-time staff member there at the church. And then we have a part-time youth minister. So his name is Kenneth. He does a great job.
Yes.
Knocks it out of the park. We got some great youth volunteers.
Nice. So anybody watching, if they want to try and come to the church, they know that they've
Check
got
it out.
Kids. They're covered. They know the address. What's the website?
Unicoi,
they want to check it out
UnicoiChristianChurch.com.
Really difficult.
Yeah. Super simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. The preaching is kind of subpar, but other than that, the service is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's all good. God's speaking through you, right?
That's right. No, not a bad gig. Yeah, I love being there. I've absolutely loved it. And they've been, I was 24 years old when they hired me on. I'm 31 now, so they've kind of put up with me and my youthful ways. And yeah.
But it's fun. It's probably like a breath of fresh air, though, too, because they've been around for 130 years. Like, my gosh. Yeah. So some of the people that have, no one's been there the whole time, but people have probably been there for a very long time.
We have some folks that have been there their entire lives, 70 plus years.
Wow.
Since the 1950s.
And are they resistant to change? Or have they been?
Yes and no. I think, I don't know. That's a loaded question.
It can be hard within a church when that happens, especially with a pastor, and you bring in a new pastor, and
I think
he's
in
young,
some ways,
so sometimes that can be tough.
We're all resistant to change, right? Like
deep.
I turned 31 this year, and I have noticed I'm not doing youth ministry full time anymore, but I've noticed, even with the shifts in technology that are happening, it's like, man, do I really want to learn that new operating system? Nope, I'm going to stick with this one, because I know what it is. And so even at a young age, I'm already starting to see some of that myself. So yeah, I think part of that is just a discipleship process for all of us, going man, what does it look like to move forward together in unity, pursuing Christ, and how can we do that in love and in humility and in grace? And I was just having this conversation earlier today. You think about the worship wars in the 90s and contemporary Christian music versus hymns and things of this nature, and it's like, man, what a discipleship opportunity. Our younger folks in the church, my age and younger, 31 and younger, it's like, man, I want to challenge you to learn some of these hymns that have endured for centuries, and that your parents and grandparents and great-grandparents have spiritual memories tied to these hymns that they sang growing up and that they sang as they were coming up out of the baptistry, right? I want to challenge the young people, learn some of these older hymns, while at the same time, everybody my age and older that's used to singing hymns, I want to challenge you, learn some of these new contemporary songs, some of these new songs that are on Christian radio that are speaking to some of the younger generations. It's a both and. It's not an either or, I think, oftentimes. And just an opportunity for discipleship kind of across the board. So it's we do a little bit of a mix. We do some hymns, some contemporary songs. Sometimes we'll do kind of a contemporized hymn. And your parents do a wonderful job at kind of finding that balance. And they've been through that and kind of been around the block a little bit. So
they've been around the block 20 times. And they love it. And they just continue to go with the times, though, in terms of the music. What do you think the biggest challenge for churches is right now in 2026?
For churches at large,
navigating.
Do you want to narrow that down a little bit at all? I'm trying to think. Churches here in the United States, or I don't know if I'm any kind of authority to be speaking about churches at large. Yeah. I think globally, to my current understanding, Christianity in North America is on a similar decline pattern that Europe was on over the last 4 or 5 decades. And global Christianity is no longer centered in the global North and the global West, but is rapidly outpacing that in the global South and the global East, right? Fastest growing church, biggest Christian church in the world is in Seoul, South Korea, I think. You know, the church in China is growing like crazy, the church in South America. And so, I don't know, in many ways, I think our country here in the United States is moving into kind of very post-Christian times. And so the churches, in many ways, I think around me that I see are kind of grappling with what that looks like. And a lot of the reaction to that I see as kind of a very much of the circling of the wagons. You know, like we need to hold on to this and, keep the purity of, coming together and, shunning everything else. And I don't think that's the right response. The holy huddle is not the proper response to that. I think when I read the Bible and look at Scripture, I see Jesus going out to people and interacting with the people around him and not being afraid to interact with culture, not only at large, but meeting people where they were at and loving them in the midst of that and inviting them into transformation. So, yeah, that's maybe a long answer too. Yeah.
No, that's fine. Yeah. It's weird growing up in churches. It's weird to see the shift that has happened, well, especially with music, because that definitely seems to be a big thing with churches trying to, like you said, get the younger crowds and trying to do some of those things. And so they're kind of changing to try and be, quote unquote, cooler, or to try and make it seem like a concert or like this is going to be a cool place for the young people. And I think that there's some things that get lost in translation along the way with that. It's been interesting, though, to see that shift because there's contemporary music has been around for a long time. I mean, it was very popular in the 90s.
Yep.
And then it's still the same thing today. It just is produced better because it's 2026. So you have Bethel music and all
DC
this.
Talk was rocking the house.
I mean, dude, Petra. Okay, if you want to talk
Disciple,
about, so many good.
Skillet, grew up.
POD is one of my favorite bands still to this day. They crush it. They're so good. But it's just really interesting to see the different shifts and the different stances and it's just a lot of different things going on with the church these days. And so it's weird. It's kind of weird times though, because as society has changed and shifted and as we've had crazy events and tragedies and different things, like I see a lot of people searching today more, I feel like, than in the past even 2-3 years. And so that's exciting to see that aspect of it, of people being like, you know what, I feel like there's something more. Yep. And I want to explore that and see what that's all about.
Which I think is an incredible option. Opportunity for the church, not option. Opportunity, right? I mean, as people are looking for purpose, as people are, lonely and in desperate need of community, I mean, the church has so much to offer sometimes that I don't necessarily think we do a great job of necessarily advertising the beautiful aspects of the church, the things that are good, true, and beautiful about the community of Christ and what that has to offer to the world around us. And sometimes I think that gets lost in translation.
Or you only hear the negative things.
Yep.
Which is
and there's a lot of that out there, right? And
for sure.
I think there's a deep desire on behalf of some of the younger generations coming up for even deeper levels of authenticity and transparency within the church.
Yeah.
They don't want a closely guarded, highly sanctioned, highly structured they're in search of authentic community and what that looks like, and community that is willing to be transparent and hold itself accountable, and also recognize a lot of the areas in which the church has fallen short and hurt people. I mean, that's one of the things that I've noticed when I moved living out west in the kind of Pacific Northwest and being in some church circles up there, a lot of it is unchurched area. I mean, Utah is less than 5% evangelical Christian.
Well, Utah.
Yeah. It's that's Mormon country, and so the kind of evangelical Christian population is very small out there. I would be considered an unreached people group. But I mean, even out in Washington, Oregon, I would meet people who had no idea who Jesus was or what Christianity was. Yeah. And then I come across the country to Tennessee, and we're kind of in like the buckle of the Bible Belt here in East Tennessee. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not necessarily encountering people who don't know about the church or know about who Jesus is and what he did. A lot of the people that I encounter that aren't a part of churches or following Jesus are people that have been hurt by the church, or their family has been hurt by the church, right? Or they've bumped into some degree of hypocrisy or judgment within the church and go, well, I want nothing to do with that. Yeah. Understandably so.
Well, and that's also where it's tough, though, because that's where everybody's a sinner, right? And so everybody needs, I mean, that's, we've all experienced that at church. I mean, I'm a heavily tattooed person. So I know. Wild. And so I've experienced that at church too. And that is off-putting because it's like, hey, listen, we all need help. Yeah. So that's why I'm here, and that's why you're here. So outward, just I think church often, we talk about the church being like a hospital for the sick in some ways. And I think sometimes the church ought to resemble more like the rooms of recovery or like an AA meeting, where everybody's coming in recognizing, look, I'm here because I need help. Yeah, I'm broken too. Yep. Yeah, for sure. That's a much better picture of AA. Yeah. Than I used to look very different than I look now. I don't have a whole lot of tattoos. I used to have a 8-inch bleach blonde mohawk and gauges in my ears and an eyebrow piercing. It's kind of hard to get hired on at certain churches. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I had gauges in my ears as well. Nice. But now I just forget that I've got holes in my ears, like the size of pencils. I only did mine up to about that size, so they've actually grown back together pretty well. But they're still pierced. I don't think they'll ever fully grow back. No, I thought mine were gonna, and I stretched mine the correct way too, but I got to a 0. And that's like pencil size. And then now I just have holes in my ears. And I forget all the time that and I have a second hole. So if I want to wear earrings, I can put it in the second hole. But it's just really funny. It's like I have holes in my ears. And I always wonder I think my boys have asked me like, Mommy, what's wrong with your ears? And I'm like, just wearing big earrings. Yeah, I just wore really big earrings for a while. And it was weird, but I chose to do it. Yeah. Well, it's people's perceptions are so interesting, and what I don't know. People are funny. Church is funny, Yeah. We're all funny. It's true. Brian likes to. We get. People ask us a lot, like, oh, hey, how come she has all the tattoos and he doesn't have any, or things like that. Brian, you need to get more tattoos. That's what I'm hearing. He doesn't have anything that he would want to put on his body. Yeah. Well, even though it's permanent, but I mean, our body's not. But I've told my younger brother, Logan, because he's gotten a couple tattoos, and I've told him, I said, if you can find one that would be a good matching tattoo, I'll get a matching tattoo with you. So. Okay. Yeah. Well, that sounds fun. So we'll see. It may happen, may not. Yeah. We had a dog. She was phenomenal, and she passed away a few years ago. How many years is it going to be this May? 4? Yeah, I think it's going to be 4 years. And she was just she was one of a kind. I know everybody says about their dog, but literally, she was one of a kind. She was half Commodore, which is the dog with dreadlocks, and half Doodle. So she's 125 pounds. That's a big dog. Yeah, you could pet her. That's a big dog. I could pet her standing up. I'm not very tall, but and when she put her front legs on Brian, he was looking at you eye to eye. Yeah, she was a big girl, and she was just amazing. And we absolutely we miss her to this day. Yeah. She had all of a sudden got stomach cancer and then just stopped eating. And then and then we took her to the vet. Well, Brian took her to the vet. And at the time, our boys were, super young.
Yeah.
And
our
youngest, Levi, doesn't even really remember her because he wasn't even, I think he was about to be 1 when she passed. And so that also breaks our heart because we're like, oh my gosh, our boys don't even remember who she was. So after that, Brian's like, well, maybe I'd get a tattoo of Riley or something like that.
Go.
But he couldn't.
Yeah, a little commemorative tattoo.
Yeah, it's still, it's hard to figure out and for him to think of.
Got that dog on you?
Paw print, all that. Yeah. No, but we'll see. Maybe one of these days Brian will. I don't know. Probably not. He's shaking his head. He's looking at me like, you're crazy.
See, I'm always on the balance of you want something something serious and deeply meaningful. At the same time, I'm like, I'll get a little lawn gnome tramp stamp, I don't know, just get something totally funky. You go to the beach and take off your shirt and they're like, what is that?
Yeah.
But also,
do you have a tramp stamp, Lance?
No tramp stamps.
All right.
Yeah. I have to think. I feel like I tiptoe a little bit working at a church nowadays, just because there are expectations on ministers that it's like, well, I probably should be a little bit mindful of that. My gainful employment is kind of tied in sometimes with perceptions, for good or for ill.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, and then if it's not like you've said anything incriminating here, in case anybody from the church watches.
It's true. I probably could drop some incriminating stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. Don't do that.
It's true. I don't know if they would have hired me on if I still had the mohawk. Back when I was doing youth ministry, I used to think to myself, I could probably do some kind of a youth challenge. Like, if you raise this amount of money, I'll cut my hair back into a mohawk and color it. And I think now that I've gone over to the dark side, I'm not doing youth ministry anymore. I'm just doing people, I don't know, so many times people are like, you're like the senior pastor. And I'm like, I don't feel very senior, so I don't call myself the senior. I'm lead minister, just say that. Yeah. But I don't feel like I could do that anymore.
Well,
probably not cutting my hair into a mohawk anytime soon.
Well, and then wait till you turn 40, and then your whole body starts falling apart. It's
just
like that.
It's
a literal thing. We Brian always talks about that. The second you hit 40, it's just things stop working. And one of our sons held a piece of paper in front of my eye. He was like, Mommy, read this. And I literally was like, whoa.
You did the adjustment thing?
Yeah. I played trombone. I was like, burp. And then I literally in that moment, I was like,
oh no.
My God.
I've become my
then
parent.
I told Brian, I was like, I am calling the optometrist right now. We are going to go get our eyes checked. This cannot be happening. And I did. I got my eyes checked, and now I'm farsighted, which I've never been in my entire life. I've always had perfect vision. And so now I have these little tiny reading glasses, and I'm going to be that bifocal person. Yep. I don't.
You got to adjust the glasses a little bit.
Well, bifocals are so weird because there's that you have to know where to look. I don't want that. I don't want any part of that. So I have the super slightest reading glasses. It's the lowest prescription you could possibly get. I can buy the glasses at Walmart. Yeah, okay, it's not I don't need a prescription.
Yeah.
And so I'm supposed to wear them when I read things, but I can still read when it's close. It's just
I'm not gonna wear those. Yeah.
I don't want to have to take the glasses out. Oh, let me read. Oh, and then it's a whole thing. But at least you have that to look forward to.
It's part of life. It's gonna happen.
40.
Oh yeah.
But it's all right. Maybe your wife will have some good advice for you.
I do think the transit, even at 31, I think to myself, I could still do an all-nighter with the youth group. Do I want to still do an all-nighter with the youth group? And that's when I think, you know what? I like preaching every Sunday. This is not a bad gig, Yeah.
But that's where coffee also comes into play.
It's true. Our youth minister we just hired on is 45, so he's older than I am, which is kind of funny. It's kind of a fun work dynamic, but yeah.
Well, that's cool.
So I'm sending him off to camp and conferences, and
go and prosper.
I still love doing. I don't know. I still love doing. Up until last year, I was doing summer camp every summer, even as kind of the lead minister, because I love camp. Big fan of camp. But this last summer, because of my doctorate program, it was the first summer where I was like, I need to, because they have 2 intensive summer classes, and I was like, I'm taking a break, and I'm not going to do camp this year. And I was like, oh, that's a big moment. First time I haven't counseled at a summer camp in 10 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, wild.
Yeah. So now you're not doing any summer camps or anything.
I'm going to take this summer off too.
Okay.
And then hopefully anticipated graduation date is May of this next year.
Oh, nice.
So we'll see.
Okay.
That's a tentative up in the air graduation day.
All right. And then what's your goal for the next 5 years then after you graduate?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah. 5 years. That's a long time.
I know.
Yeah. Stay married, keep working, stay sober.
Yeah.
Shelby and I have thought about transitioning back out west. My parents are still in the Seattle area. Her parents are in the Boise area. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we transition back out that direction. I'll be, I think, eligible for the VA home loan in like 3 years. And, 3 years would put me at 10 years that I've been with the church. That'd be kind of a nice round number. So, yeah, I don't know if that's the case. If anybody from the church is watching this, I'm not planning on leaving anytime soon.
He's not leaving.
Yeah. So, but I've shared with the church pretty openly. I, pardon me. Yeah, I don't want to like hide anything or anything like that. We don't have any plans in place. But with both of our sets of parents out there, as they get older too, I think eventually we'll want to transition back out that direction because we're talking about having kids and things like that too.
Yeah.
So
it always helps.
Maybe in the cards for the next 5 years. Who knows? Whatever. That's God's plan, not mine. I try to hold my plans pretty loosely.
Yeah, because they can change.
Yeah, I like to make plans and then
yeah,
not all of them work out that well.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Although this is one of our plans we just tried, and this seems to be working pretty well.
It's true.
Sitting here and
not bad.
Hearing people's stories.
Not a bad gig. Love it. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to share today, Lance?
We'll go with two more things.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about two things. One, I'll share a little bit about. I want to share just a touch on some of the military chaplaincy work I do,
cool.
And then, we'll go from there. I mentioned earlier that I'm in the reserves as a Navy chaplain, and that's been just an incredible opportunity. I thought about going active duty for a while, but I've been in the reserves for a little bit and enjoy that. Just this last year, I got paired over in the Washington, D.C. area with Arlington National Cemetery.
Okay.
So I get to go out there and help out with the funeral honors, which is just a wildly different ministry.
Yeah, I bet.
They are doing 8,000 plus funerals a year out there at Arlington National Cemetery. So it's like 30, 35 plus funerals a day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out.
That's a lot.
I haven't been out there a ton yet. I went out this last fall for a couple of weeks in August. I did more funerals in 2 weeks than I've done in the last 2 years at a local church. But I mean, definitely a huge honor, but also, ministry-wise, like pastoring a church is so different than like hospital chaplaincy. Like the pastor of a local church, you'll go visit hospital rooms here and there. But like if you're a hospital chaplain, that's all you're doing kind of day in and day out. Just a very different cadence of ministry. And then like Arlington National Cemetery, like the chaplains out there, like it's funerals all day, every day, day in, day out. So it's just, that's been kind of an interesting thing for me just over the last year as I think it was this last June that I got assigned over there. And so fall was my first time kind of getting over there and probably going to be going back this year sometime. That's been kind of an interesting thing.
And so
very unique.
Is that all that you just go and do funerals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and it's kind of a range, right?
Okay.
Because it's Arlington National Cemetery, a pretty big tourist destination. A lot of people will visit there when they're in D.C. So it's very kind of public facing. So ministry there, like as a chaplain, is not just to the families that are coming. Your ministry is to the servicemen and women who are deceased and then their families too who are coming in, but also at the same time, like you are ministering to the staff and the young soldiers and sailors that are there working too, because they got you got your flag folding team and your casket team and the Navy band and the Marine Corps band and all. You got some young guys and gals that are kind of right out of boot camp and they're day in, day out, they're carrying caskets. Like that's their job. It's like, man, how do you like support and love those people while also like caring for the families too?
Yeah.
Like it's just a very unique ministry position. Yeah. And you encounter a lot of people that don't have any kind of a faith background, which is one of the things I love too. Sometimes in churches, and I guess this would be out of all of this kind of the big thing that I've been reflecting on. Sometimes in churches, it's easy to get kind of caught up in those Christian bubbles and circles.
Oh, it's very easy. Yeah.
Where, you make friends with the people at church, and if that's your community, that's who you're hanging out with, and then you go out to eat with those people, and like if your family is full of believers, all of a sudden it's like, man, I spend all my time only around people that believe the same things that I do. And I don't think that that's necessarily A, what we're called to, or B, even healthy for us. So, yeah, I think that would be one of my thoughts out of that is like, man, got to break out of the bubble a little bit. I shoot pool at Newman's, downtown Johnson City.
Okay.
I've shot league pool since I've been shooting pool since before I was 21. But I've been technically shooting league pool since I was 21.
Okay.
But that's one of the things I love about shooting pool is I'm going to go down and hang out at the bar at least once a week and get to meet and interact with people that would never darken the door of a church.
Yeah.
So.
Do they have any idea that you're?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They all know at this point.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'll be sitting there with like my pool team, like, oh, this is the preacher over here.
Yeah.
Oh, don't introduce me as that. Like people
Yeah.
automatically have their preconceptions,
Yeah.
But no, it's great.
funny.
I love it. Yeah.
Shooting pool. Now wait, what's this workout group that you were going to talk about? F3?
Oh yeah, F3.
Okay.
Have you never heard of it?
No.
So it's
Have you heard of it, Brian? No. Brian
not
hasn't?
only national, but I think international too at this point.
Oh.
So it is F3. The 3 Fs stand for fitness, fellowship, and faith. Fitness,
Okay.
fellowship, and faith. When I first moved here in 2018 is when I got introduced to F3. There was a group in the area, and I quickly found out there were groups all across the United States. It's a free men's workout group. It's totally free. It's led in a rotating fashion, meets outdoors, and it's phenomenal. I played sports kind of all the way up through high school and even into college a little bit. And so I've always loved working out, being physically fit and active and stuff. And if you've been playing kind of on sports teams, sometimes it can be hard to keep up with that fitness if you're just by yourself kind of out of that. And so like I don't know, I've just fell into this. So I've been doing it 7 years now that I've been working out with this group. And there are groups, so there's a group near me that works out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but there's groups in Johnson City that work out just about every day of the work. There's groups in Bristol and in Kingsport. I think it originated in Charlotte back in 2012. But they're across the country now. So like a year and a half ago, I was down in Florida for about a month and just looked up, F3 near me, found a group over there, started working out with guys, met a bunch of different guys down in Florida that I was just working out with. This last month, I went back out west to visit family. I was working out with the F3 guys in the Seattle area. There's groups in Boise that I was working out with. I think they have a women's version of it too.
Wow.
It's called FIA.
How do you find the groups? Is there? Do you go?
Yeah, you can just Google F3 and pull up the website. It's
Interesting.
Yeah, phenomenal. So Brian, if you're ever interested in coming and working out, you can come hit a workout. Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
super good.
Brian, we love to work out, and
Yeah.
we work out. So
Do you have a home gym?
yeah, we're just
Yeah.
one of those rare couples. We're literally around each other 24/7, and we wouldn't have it any other way. We just operate really well together.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people would get sick of their significant other. Like, I don't. I just genuinely like to hang out with Brian.
Yeah.
And he
Oh,
just
yeah.
likes to hang out with me. So we're each other's workout partners too. But it's difficult though because I'm a female and he's a male, and so like a lot of times when I'm spotting him on bench press, I'm like, oh my gosh.
What if he
don't
drops
drop it,
this?
don't drop it. But then my adrenaline will kick in and I'll help. But like it's one of those natural things where I'm like, don't die. Just
Yeah.
because it's like a little nerve wracking. But sometimes, like Brian had some friends back up north that he also would train with. And
Yeah.
and
Well,
so
I
it's
feel
that would be awesome.
When I'm working out with other people, like it helps push me in a way that I have trouble pushing myself to by
For
myself.
sure. Yeah.
So I just love it. I do that. I do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday I go lift weights at the YMCA or I swim. I do a lot of sports too. I play
Yeah.
soccer and basketball and do a little bit of everything.
All the things.
Yeah, all the things.
Enjoy doing all those things
Yeah.
now so that you don't like. So,
We had a
Because-
guy in our F3 group that was 70.
okay.
And he would come out 5:30 a.m., come out. Now, he couldn't run much anymore, but he would jog alongside. And he couldn't really do push-ups, but he would kind of get down in a plank position and hold that, and work on his core. And he couldn't really do pull-ups, but he'd hang from the bar. And it's open to all men, all fitness levels, and it's phenomenal because I think the fitness has been good, but also like it has connected me with so many other guys all across the country.
That's cool.
And all over East Tennessee that I've been able to connect with.
Nice.
Well,
and what I mean is enjoy that because someday when you guys have kids,
won't be able to do that as much.
It does get harder. We incorporate our boys and they work out with us. We try either we do it really early in the morning, like we'll get up at 4 and get a workout in before they wake up, or they'll work out with us. And they're trying, but we just want them to move their bodies.
Get active.
And to see their parents working out so that they understand like the importance of fitness and keeping your body and all those things. Like it's hard. So
part of the reason I do it, like my parents always worked out first thing in the morning, 5 days a week, maybe more than that. My dad would go out and he'd work out before he went to work, but my mom would work out at home and she'd go for walks and do in-home workouts. I remember like, on snow days and stuff, my mom, we'd have like the Richard Simmons workout video or something. We'd be doing the Richard Simmons workout in the living room,
Wasn't it Sweating to the Oldies?
That's
Is that
right.
what it was called?
Yeah. Burn that fat away,
There's this old dance. I don't know if it's from like the 50s, but it's Robert Preston, who was in The Music Man. And he did this chicken fat dance. And it used to be this thing. You have to look it up on YouTube when you go home.
Chicken fat dance.
It's like, go, you chicken fat, go. And it's like this, and you do touch your toes. Touch your toes. 10,
classic
9,
'80s aerobics.
It is way earlier than the '80s.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's just a little. Remember that chicken dance thing? It's like this little aerobics thing. I don't know, maybe 5-8 minutes of just move your body, and but it's just hilarious because it's like totally old school. So you have to look that up. When maybe have the F3 guys do that as your warm up one of the days.
Well, that's kind of the fun thing too. Is like there's not like one specific leader. So the different guys will lead different days, and maybe I'll lead on Monday morning, and then my friend will lead on Wednesday, and then another guy. So it's never like the same thing, and it's always a new fresh workout, and most of the time you just show up and jump in, and some other guy's leading the workout, and you do what they're doing, and it's great.
That's cool.
Love
That's awesome. We're gonna check that out. Well, Brian's gonna check that out. I'll look if there's a women's version. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Big fan.
Nice.
So, yeah. Last, I'm trying to think. I feel like there's one last thing that I want to talk about.
Okay.
I'm trying to think how to incorporate it because in some sense it ties in with everything that we've talked about, but in another sense it's also deeply personal to me and my own journey and walk, and that would just be my sobriety. I mentioned early on in our conversation that I got expelled from school my freshman year of college.
Yeah, your wild days.
Yeah. So my wild days were because I like to, at least I thought at the time, I just like to party a little bit too much. That's what I thought at the time. I essentially got kicked out of my first year of college for drinking and drug use. And got the boot from college and went back, and bounced around for a while, worked some dead-end manual labor jobs. My parents had an intervention in my late teens. I was probably 18, turning 19, and they had a family intervention because it's man, you're getting kicked out of school. What are you doing with your life?
So was it a legit, you came home from something and you had friends and family in your living room? That kind of an intervention?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Wow. I had, after I got kicked out of my freshman year of college, I moved back into the Seattle area and got a job doing landscaping. So I was working as a landscaper and, for 6 months, but was still kind of drinking and partying and kind of just rolled right back into the scene over there. And then my parents one morning showed up and picked me up, and they were like, "We called your boss. You're not going into work today."
Wow.
Took me to rehab. So I did my first kind of drug and alcohol rehab stint. I forget if I was, I don't know, it was 18 turning 19, right around there. It was my late teens. So that was kind of my first exposure to rehab, AA, getting a pink slip, going and getting that signed. And then at the time, I was still so young. I mean, literally my thought was, I'm young, I just like to party a little too much, and I just got caught doing it. Because I have so many other friends that are my age doing the exact same thing, that the only difference between me and them is they didn't quite have the adverse effects because they weren't going to a Bible college that had a code of conduct that they had to abide by, Because like when I was in Boise, kind of the first time around, I was partying with a bunch of friends over at Boise State University, and none of them got in any trouble because, a big state university is not going to have the same kind of standard of conduct as Bible colleges can have, understandably so. Yeah. Right? That makes sense. So, that first kind of sobriety stint did not last long, and kind of rolled right back out into things, and just kind of spiraled downhill from there. Bounced around, did some school like tried some community college for night classes, because I thought, I should still be trying to do something with my life. I was working this landscaping job. But just kind of kept spiraling. And eventually in my early 20s, like I turned 21, and all of a sudden, right, like any issues that I had had before with accessing, alcohol, like the barrier, like I felt like I had a drinking problem prior to that, and then I turned 21 and like the floodgates went open, and I just went on a bender, and for months and months and months and months, and then got arrested in my early 20s. Okay. Got arrested, DUI charged, got my license revoked, excessive DUI in the state of Idaho. So I was on probation with the state, the whole 9 yards. Mm-hmm. And so that was, in many ways, I feel like that was God's wake-up call to me. Mm-hmm. I think I was a Christian prior to that. Mm-hmm. I believed in Jesus. I don't think I had yet actually fully surrendered my life and who I am and my will over to Christ and said, all right, I'm going to try it your way. Because I think, I tried things my way for a long time, and obviously that does not end up very well. Mm-hmm. That was kind of my big wake-up call. And long kind of tough stretch of working back through that. I had my license suspended for a year, so I was, back in school, riding a bike to school every day, and then, ride a bike from school to work, and then ride the bike from work to, the court-mandated rehab program at the time. And then, they had me on a UA list for urinalysis. I had to go pee in a cup if my color popped. And so it was just a long, kind of arduous, and super expensive too. I mean, easily $15,000 plus, wow. And I, at the time, like, I went out and I was living in an old beat up trailer home, and, splitting the rent with another guy. And because I had lost my license, I was like, I need to find a job that's close to where I live. And on the same street that I lived on was a moving company. It was a 2-minute a truck franchise. Mm-hmm. And so I started, I knew a guy that worked there and asked if he would give me a little, put a word into the management for me. So I got hired on at 2-minute a truck, started working for a moving company. And that was kind of the slow climb back out of there. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of who I am today, how I minister at the church, how I take care of myself and other people around me, my relationships, everything is kind of influenced by that path of sobriety. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For sure. So that was the moment. That was your come to Jesus moment, literally and figuratively.
And I don't know if there was one, like, I don't think I could tell you, like, it was this day, this time that I got, like, hit over the head with a bolt of lightning. Mm-hmm. I think it was because even, the first, don't know, year and a half, I was still on probation with the state of Idaho, with the court system, having to go pee in a cup. And so like mandated sobriety, otherwise I would have violated my probation, the whole 9 yards. So it's like kind of through that period, it's like, okay, just jumping through the hoops. And then it was like, okay, coming off probation, am I going to continue in my sobriety? And I think at a certain point, God kind of just was like, hey, and I think it took me several years. I still go to AA meetings every week if I can. There are some weeks where it gets busy and I miss a meeting or two. But it's been such an integral part of my life, and I think that everything I have, my wife Shelby, my job, my ministry, you name it, right? Like if I went out and went out tonight and took a drink, like that would all be gone very quickly. I have no doubt. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it is the moments and leading up to and the experiences, whether they last a day or years, for some of those things that really help you kind of wake up and then you do really find yourself because everything that you're trying obviously isn't working. So it's like, all right, it's time to try something else and make a change. So that's awesome that you were able to come through that and that you still I'm sure you'd go through it again to get to where you are today.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what helped shape you. And that's
hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah, hands down.
Well, and thank you for sharing that and talking about it too, because that's really hard. It's not easy to do, to go through those things and then to continue to talk about it.
Yeah.
But that's only continues to make you stronger. And that helps other people too. If there's somebody that's watching this, that's like, hey, you know what? I went through the same thing. I don't go to a church because I didn't think that they would accept me.
Yeah.
And so they could be like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. This is a pastor that's talking about this. That's beautiful. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mentioned earlier, like sometimes I think the church should be more like a meeting, like all of that, like the 12-step process and all of that. I mean, I feel like it's so intertwined with my faith life and my relationship with Christ in terms of, coming back through that process and kind of out of that, everything I do is in many ways shaped by that. So, yeah, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago now. I wasn't too far into sobriety when I moved out to Tennessee and was kind of like finishing up I got arrested in 2016.
Wow.
So that was 10
years ago.
Yeah. So my sobriety birthday is this next month in March.
Oh,
I'll hit
nice.
10 years clean and sober.
Congratulations.
Lord willing, by the grace of God, if I can get a few more 24 hours under my belt. Yeah. So we'll see. Knock on wood.
Yeah. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm way more excited about that birthday than my belly button birthday. So yeah. I don't really care about my belly button birthday these days, but yeah.
It's really funny. I've never heard it referred to as my belly button birthday.
Well, yeah, in Alcoholics Anonymous and a lot, Narcotics Anonymous and in a lot of the recovery rooms, because you'll have two birthdays, right? You have your sobriety birthday and you got your belly button birthday. Okay. So that's what they call it. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Fun.
So, yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Lance, for just sharing all the things today. It was cool to learn more about you. And if anybody needs to get in touch with you, they can go to the church website, and that phone is not yours anymore.
There. Well, I mean, if you want to get a hold of me, you can call that phone and leave a message. Yeah. They'll let me know. You can also, there's also like a contact button on the church page too that you can shoot an email out.
Cool. And what's the website again?
UnicoiChristianChurch.com.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Lance.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. Leah Vanity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woo.
It's all right. We'll film a part 2 in a few months.
Sweet. Sounds good to me.
Cool.
Let's do it.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
This episode is powered by Outpost Roasters, small batch, high quality coffee with soul. Outpost Roasters in Johnson City specializes in freshly roasted, small batch, ethically sourced, fair trade local coffee. That's what sets them apart from the big guys. They work directly with small farms and co-ops to ensure responsible practices and rich, balanced flavor in every single cup. Whether it's early mornings or late nights, their 12-ounce bags deliver bold, smooth coffee at a totally fair price. Head to outpostroastersjc.com to explore their blends and single origins. Outpost Roasters, coffee that's definitely worth waking up for.